Hello friends, I'm here today to share with you my May wrap up. First, to start off with, I tried to move the camera back a little bit. I was just feeling kind of blah about my setup, and when I was watching some of my favorite booktubers, they were a little bit further away from the camera. So I'm going to try that. Let me know what you think. So for the month of May, I ended up reading 13 books. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first book was Whiskey Prince by Toni Aleo. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I really wanted to enjoy it. I really wanted to love this one. Back even before I made YouTube videos. I saw a booktuber that I watched read this one and absolutely loved it. Unfortunately, so this book is written, or it was published in 2014, and unfortunately it very much reads like it was written and published in 2014. It's about Amberlynn, who she has lost both of her parents as an 18 or 19-year-old, and so she goes to Ireland to work at this pub of a family member somehow. I forget how they were related. And she ends up meeting Declan, who is the Whiskey Prince. His family owns a whiskey distillery, and he is kind of being groomed to take it over. And yeah, it was written, it read like it was written in 2014. There were a lot of not great things towards female characters, and I don't think that Amberlynn was a great main character. But yeah, ultimately, I do think because I spent so long looking for the story, they kind of have a happy for now in this one, but there is a second book about Amberlynn and Declan, and I do think that I want to read that. I'm kind of stuck between read it now and get it over with, or put it off because I don't have high hopes for it. But yeah, this one was just a 3-star for me. After that, I read Ruthless Creatures by J.T. Geisinger. This was part of my Mafia romance readathon. So this one is about Natalie, and she, at the beginning of this book, is going through a bit of grief. It's hit the point where her missing fiance is about to be missing for long enough to be considered legally dead. And so she's kind of going through some things. It's almost to the wedding that they had planned, but he went missing right before then. And then this mysterious man shows up into town, and that is Cage, and he is part of the Mafia. At first, I really wasn't sure that he was part of the Mafia. It kind of reads it as more of maybe connected, but not really in the Mafia, if that makes sense. But yeah, she and Cage start a kind of a relationship. I don't know how to describe it. He leaves a lot to go back to his real life, and she stays in the little town that she lived in. And then she slowly starts to figure out the pieces of Cage's life and how he connects to her missing fiance. And I don't remember if I said, I gave this 4 stars. Another book that I read for the Mafia Romance Readathon, I also gave 4 stars, and that is Phantom by Greer Rivers. I gave it 4 stars. But this book is not, I don't know, this book had me fucked up in the head, honestly. So it's a Phantom of the Opera retelling, and instead of a certain mafia, it's more like an organized crime family. What's his name? I don't know if it's Saul. I forget what it was short for. But he is the Phantom character, and he creepily watches Scarlett as she's an opera singer, and she's at this school production company thing that his family backs, and it's Phantom of the Opera. Like, it is. This is what it is. But I don't know. Like, I enjoyed it enough to keep reading, but there were definitely things in here that I don't quite know how I read. So yeah, definitely check the trigger warnings for this. I don't even think I could list them all here. But this book was a wild ride. It was wild, and if you're into it, then pick it up. If it's something that you want to pass on, I also totally understand that. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars. Next, I read Uncharted by Adriana Anders. This is a romantic suspense about Leo and Elias. This kind of continues on the story of Whiteout, different couple, but in that book, in Whiteout, they're in Antarctica, and there's this virus that's released, and they're running from the people who are trying to release it. And in this one, that the chase for the virus leads Leo to Alaska, and she gets separated from her team, and her plane goes down, and Elias is living in the wilderness of Alaska, and they kind of team up to get back to safety and figure out what's going on, why there's people looking for her. I gave this one 3 stars. I did not enjoy this after Whiteout. I think something about maybe the Antarctica setting was just chef's kiss perfection. But I was so bored during this. I was so bored. It was just them like being in the Alaskan wilderness. And I think after reading so many like cozy romances of the Alaskan wilderness, I was just like, why? But yeah, there was also a thing about the dog. They were too busy making out to realize that the dog that Elias had out in the wilderness with him was missing, and the dog was almost captured, and I was not happy. The dog is safe. The dog ends up safe though. I was thankful for that. Not quite at the same time, but both during the month, I finished the Wrecked series by Catherine Cowles. So I read Reckless Refuge and Beneath the Wreckage. Reckless Refuge, I ended up giving 3 stars, and Beneath the Wreckage, I ended up giving 4 stars. I cannot tell you what happened in any of these. I am really glad to be done with the Wrecked series. This was a bit of a struggle to get through. I found myself not really caring about any of the characters, and nothing that ever seemed to happen ever made me care about the characters. So I'm kind of glad to be done with this one. Yeah. Next, I read Princess by Sapphire Knight. This is book 1 in the Oathkeepers MC series. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. This one is about, what's her name, Princess? Her name was Princess. She is the daughter of a motorcycle club president, but she's kind of seen how her dad has like dragged her mom along all these years, but wouldn't really let her in. And then when her brother decides that he wants to join the same motorcycle club, she decides that she wants to get revenge on her dad by sleeping with as many people in his MC as possible. So she goes to like their like club hangout bar, and while she's hitting on one of the prospects, Viking comes over and is like, no, not him. If you want to sleep with somebody here, it's going to be me. And then that starts this whole thing, because Viking is kind of in the MC, but he's a nomad. So he's connected, but not really in it. And I gave it 4 stars. There were things that I felt like were talked about or were hinted at, and then just didn't, like the follow-up wasn't there a little bit for me. Maybe if it had been a bit longer. But I did really enjoy it. I was very interested in the characters and always wanted to know what was happening next. And I do plan to continue on with this series. The next 4 are ones that I read for my Reading New Authors for Book Bonanza reading blog. So I'm just going to kind of go over them real fast. Dark Notes by Pam Godwin. I gave this 4 stars. Pleasantly surprised. It is very dark. Please check the trigger warnings. But if you don't see anything on that trigger warning list that might stop you, please read this. It was so good. So good. Call It Fate by M.E. Montgomery. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It just had a thing in it that wasn't my favorite. I talk more about that in my reading blog. But yeah, overall, highly recommend. I do think I would continue on with this series. The Wrong Bride by Catherine Amora. I gave this one 5 stars. This had me hooked, y'all. It was like a soap opera. It was dramatic. It was intense. I loved it. Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. This book won in the Bargainer series. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I am going to continue on with the series. It's a fantasy romance. I was hooked. Next was Roses Are Red by Christine Allen. I don't remember if this was a free book at Wanderlust or if it was like because I did. Maybe I bought something and so she like added it into what I bought. I don't know. I don't know how I got this book from Wanderlust, but somehow I did. So I gave this one 3 stars. This is so short and it is such a wild ride. So it's Rose and Storm, and they meet at this like high stakes gambling game. And Rose, like, I thought I was gonna go into like a fantasy element of her like knowing where the cards were, but it wasn't. It never really explained why she was able to win big at these gambling games. And it's the one where they meet. She takes all of his money. He goes to find out why. They hook up in a hotel and she leaves. So he spends, I think it was like a month, 2 months, trying to figure out where she's at. And then when she comes back to the US, he is like able to find her right away when she needs help. And yeah, it was a wild ride and it was kind of weird. And I gave it 3 stars. Yeah. And then finally, I ended the month on a 5-star read as well, and I read Resting Witch Face by Juliet Cross. This is book 5 in her Stay a Spell series. This is Jules and Ruben. It was as wonderful as I thought that it would be. It's a second chance. Jules is a witch. She's like the high witch. I forget what exactly it was called. And then Ruben is the vampire overlord, and they are teaming up to kind of get this law passed to help the werewolves, and it was beautiful. Loved it. Probably my favorite in the series so far. I think I am comfortable saying that. So those are the books that I read in the month of May. Let me know if you've read any of these, what you thought down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.